What is going on, wrestling fans? It's I, Steve Full. Welcome back to 10 Count Media. On today's edition, it's a special day. I'm here with former WWE Women's Champion Candice Michelle. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you? I was going to say good morning, but it's good afternoon for you. We just realized
that is true. Time zones are a problem. I recently did an interview with Alex Wright from WCW, and he's like, are you free at noon? I'm like, sure. Noon, his time is 6 a.m. my time.
Oh, wow.
So I was up early that day, but you know, today it's lunchtime, so everyone gets together, have a sandwich, have a snack, gather around, enjoy a conversation with me and Candice, because we're going to talk about something that's very interesting, because Evolution was this past weekend, the all-women's pay-per-view, and out of nowhere, I'm watching it, and I just keep hearing your name dropped over and over again. Candice Michelle, Candice Michelle, Candice Michelle. Suddenly I go on Twitter. It's trending. It's all over Instagram. It's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
Now, this is because Michael Cole kept mistakenly calling Candice LeRae Candice Michelle. At what point for you personally that evening did you find out this was happening?
I found out almost right when it happened. Many people just started messaging me. I was at a farewell event for somebody that's moving out of town. And I was like, what are all these messages? And they're like, they keep announcing you at Evolution. They keep announcing you. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm not there. And then as I got out of that event, I heard what had happened. And so it was just kind of this really fun surprise to be part of Evolution when you're not really invited to be a part of Evolution. I think God has a bigger plan, and he invited me.
That is so interesting you say that, because yes, there were many stories out there about individuals. Like Victoria did a video saying that she did not get a phone call. She was not invited to Evolution. Personally, for you, how did it feel, though, to be trending at an event that you were not invited to and you didn't actually go to?
You know, I think it's pretty cool to be the only wrestler to not be at the event and to be trending. I mean, there's something kind of to say about that. And so it was just a really kind of great opportunity to remind myself, like, I am a big part of, you know, this wrestling business and where it was and where it's come from. And also knowing where it's going. You know, I think this Evolution was really about where it's at and where it's going in the future, you know, with a lot of the NXT female wrestlers coming on board and having a really great opportunity to be a part of this. So I really enjoyed it. I think I got more notoriety than if I would have been in the Battle Royal. So watching the 20 girls in there, I mean, they do an incredible job. But it's always really hard to kind of showcase what you got in situations like that. So I think it was just the perfect opportunity for me.
I'm glad you said that, because sometimes battle royals can be super battle boring, because you're just sitting there and everyone's punching and kicking. And when you get to maybe 6 people, we can get some things going. We can get some move combos. But for a while, it's like, well, I can't really throw you around, because if I throw you this way, you're going to land into 16 more people. And it's not really going to add up there. And so Victoria said she didn't get a phone call. Kelly said she got a phone call, but she didn't want to be someone who was just sitting in the audience. She wanted a return to be more impactful than just being in the crowd waving. Would have you turned down the sit down on the crowd waving moment? Like Jacqueline was there, Ivory was there, Molly Holly was there. What were your thoughts on that, seeing them there? But yet, would have you taken that phone call and been like, yeah, I'll come sit in the crowd and wave?
I think if it worked with my schedule, I would have. I wouldn't be opposed to it. However, you know, it was nice to see those other women there, because that was really, you know, the generation for me and even before me. So when those women are in the crowd and, you know, they're just recognized, I enjoyed that when I was watching, you know, like they're representing the era I was in and an era before me. So I enjoyed that. I think it's more of a schedule thing, you know, when you're not totally involved so much, you know, running a business and a practice here. So it just has to kind of work out.
Yeah, like Tori Wilson was on the panel before the show, and then she was in the crowd, so she was waving, and everyone was so happy to see her. But then there was like this random act of just, I don't know, discourse online where people were like, well, look at these wrestlers. They don't look the same they did 20 years ago. Yeah, no shit, dude. Nobody looks the same they did 20 years ago. Like, what's the discourse on that? Because even Charlotte Flair recently did an article where she wrote about how ageism is so much worse on women in professional wrestling, or in general in life, than men in wrestling. Like, how do you feel about that aspect? Because they're expecting you to look like you did when you were 20 versus Roman Reigns, they're like, oh, well, gray hairs, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of a different outlook on it. I mean, most of the women that I see, like, for example, Tori Wilson and Trish Stratus, like, I'm like, wow, you guys look amazing for your age. And so, like, for people to say, like, anything other than they look absolutely incredible is shocking. And I always know the people that are talking shit are the people that don't look amazing 20 years younger than them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things that we've always been trained to learn in this business. And it's never easy. But I remember being taught people either need to love you or hate you, and you have a job. And if they don't say anything about you, you don't matter. And so at the end of the day, if you're talking good or bad about them, clearly these women are doing something right. But to say anything less about them not looking great is absolutely absurd. Aging is a real thing, you know, and I think it's harder for women. Obviously, you know, there's a lot more expectations of don't have wrinkles or this or that. But the upkeep that we do is insane, and they look stunning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like just crazy for people to think anything less than that, in my opinion.
No, I agree. You know, the only thing I have to do really is dye my beard. So that's, that's where, I got bags, I got wrinkles, when I got 3 kids and I have a beautiful wife. So when I say, what about this, and they're like, Daddy, what are you talking about? We love you.
It is different from men. Like when men have a gray beard and some wrinkles, like you're distinguished.
I was just going to use that word. Yes.
Yeah, you really are. And it's very attractive. Like when I have gray hair growing in on this dark hair, like it's not the same thing. It's not like, oh, she's just distinguished. It's like, oh my gosh, she's aging. So there's definitely a difference with the men and the women in this. And we do a lot of upkeep. And everybody does different forms of that, and that's their prerogative. But at the end of the day, I can't look at any of them and say, wow, you look terrible.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
It was insane when I went online and it was like, oh, that's cool. Like Melina's there and Ivory and Jacqueline and so many other people in the crowd. But yet there was a celebration of these women. And then, of course, there's always that portion of people in this world who just want to tear you down no matter where you're doing. Oh, you look great. Yeah, but no, you don't have to yeah, but. Just say, you look great, period.
Totally. I remember learning this trick from a book that I read. And it's always, a lot of times women have a really hard time accepting compliments. Like if somebody says, well, you look beautiful, they're like, oh, so do you. Or they're like, oh, no, this is nothing. This is really old stuff. Like they always kind of undermine the compliment that they get. Mm-hmm. And so this woman that was teaching how to receive compliments, she said, say thank you and shut the F up. And I was like, okay, but it's really hard to do because we're the hardest on ourselves is really the reality of it. But at the end of the day, for anybody to look at these women who have paved the way and have done so much for this business and to pick out random things about them like that, it's just utterly disrespectful. And it shows who those people really are.
True. That's a good point. Speaking of Tori Wilson, though, there was a video that recently appeared online where it was her birthday and there was a big celebration there. And how was that? How was Tori Wilson's birthday?
It was the most incredible weekend. She had, I think it was 8 of her closest friends there. And the most beautiful, strong, empowered women. And my favorite thing is all of us are going through something in our lives. We're at that age where like you have something at home you're dealing with. I know one woman lost her house in the fires. We're dealing with the 3 kids and our new practice that we have. Another woman was dealing with a remodeling issue, like all these really heavy issues. But it was a moment where we could come together and totally forget that. Just let our inner child out, dance, have fun. We had the most luxurious meals, dancing to the DJ. And at our age, the day DJ is like really awesome. And I think we were all to bed at about 11:30 at night. So it was awesome. We got great sleep. We woke up. We had great time together, great meals together. And just really filled our cup with love. And that really stems from Tori. Tori is just a powerhouse of a sweet soul. She's super strong-minded. And the women that she brought together was really a reflection of who she is. And so we had an incredible time.
There was some dance I recall seeing. Was it? I don't know the exact terminology. Was it like the woman mommy dance or something? Like people were. It was like they were like kind of humping the air maybe a little bit. I'm not sure what you'd call it.
She has a famous dance, and like whenever she's excited about a song, or sometimes you'll even see this on her workout videos. She does this like dance of like gyrating like this, and she always does it. So it was our tribute to the Tory dance, and so we all did our little version of her dance.
I loved it. It was so much fun to see that. And again, it was so much fun to see you trending too, because it's always great again when your star power is showing through, when you don't get a phone call. And like Evolution 2018, you weren't there either, but like was there a phone call involved that day either, or scheduling and nothing?
No, this kind of stuff, I feel like it's a pattern that almost happens. There's like the Royal Rumble. I think we talked about this one time where they advertised me and people thought I didn't show up. But the truth was I just never got a phone call. And what I just believe so wholeheartedly, and I've said this before, is when you're doing your work behind the scenes that nobody sees, these signs and wonders just show up for you. And it's crazy to really think about. But if anybody's going through this season behind the scenes where you're like, wow, I'm just grinding away. Like, when do I get a break? When do I get a little bit of notice from the world that like I'm doing good on this planet? Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been doing behind the scenes, consistently day in and day out with what I do now with emotional alignments and the floods that happened here. And we're doing our best to give back the way we can. There's been complete devastation, really close to where I live. And when you do that, things like that happen. And so I feel like it's God's way of just filling your cup, like saying, hey, I see you. I notice you. I'm going to give you this little push. It's not like this massive thing, but it was something that was like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm doing something good, And so as long as you do that work behind the scenes, like it'll show up one way or another.
Always great to talk to you about things, because you always, even you just talking right there, suddenly I'm thinking about things that, like, oh man, yeah, like, you want the cheerleaders to cheer you on, but yet at the same time, when you're doing a great job, there's no cheerleaders around. There's no one there lifting you up except for yourself. And so when you're trying to get through this, suddenly when the world smiles at you and goes, hey, you're going to trend because someone's mistakenly calling someone else a different name. But yeah, and then pictures of you stop popping up, and appreciation of you stop popping up. And it's like, okay, well, there was a plan here. And, I do believe in fate as well. So I believe that for you personally, this was a moment personally for you and your star to shine. But have you ever met Candice LeRae before or
I think I met her once a really long time ago. And what an incredible wrestler she is. So no disrespect to her at all. She deserves all the honor and attention that she deserves. It was just one of those moments that, things kind of shifted, and I wish her the absolute best. And so hopefully she's not offended, and we just kind of take it for what it was.
Well, now we need the Candice Michelle versus Candice LeRae, or the tag team of Candice Michelle and the Candices, Candice Square.
Totally. That would be a really fun match for Michael to announce.
Oh my God. He'd be like, listen, I need medicine. I need help here.
I might be, at an advantage in that match. It's like I get a handicap because he's just used to saying my name. So I'll take that handicap because I'm a lot older than she is.
It was pretty funny, Michael Cole. He would even say it out loud, and Wade Barrett would be like, what are you doing? You keep saying the wrong names. Like, I can't. Sorry, it's habit. And that's great too, to see like Michael Cole has been in the wrestling business for like 20 plus years now. Totally. He's still saying your name, even though there's been other Candices over the years, he's still saying your name because that's the one he remembers saying over and over and over again while you were an active wrestler. And then, when you were in the crowd months ago when Raw came to your town, and I believe you told me that you went backstage after and you spoke with Triple H. And what did Triple H say to you that evening? Because I would think that maybe a door has been opened for you to return at a different point. Maybe not now, Evolution, but maybe later on. What did Triple H say to you?
Yeah, I actually got to see Triple H out by the ring, and the first thing he just said was "Welcome home," and just the tone and the way he said it really felt welcoming. And he just reminded me this will always be his home. You know, I have always honored and respected this business. I've never had bad energy or bad discussions about this business. And so I think that is just something, you know, I've always been really loyal, and I felt that in return from him, like, you're always welcome here. I do think that at some point there's something for me in this business again. I'm not quite sure what that looks like. And so I'm just kind of, when preparation meets opportunity, then we'll see what happens. And just kind of in that phase and seeing what does that look like for me? You know, where do I fit in there? How do I fit in? Are they ready for a personality like me? Is it in front of the scenes or behind the scenes? You know, there's a lot of options and opportunities there. So just waiting to see what unfolds.
Oh man. And of course, if you did get that phone call and you could have had a match at Evolution, did you have someone in your brain, like, you thinking, man, if they call me, I want this person, me and them one-on-one? Who is on that list for you? Do you have a list growing right now?
I think there's always a list. I mean, with the wrestlers nowadays, like, to be completely honest, like, you take somebody like Naomi, like, I don't know that I can actually hang in the ring for 30 minutes with her. You know, it would take a lot of commitment and preparation on my end to even be at a place of doing that. But some of the things that I always think of is, like, I never really got to finish that reign with Beth Phoenix.
Yes.
And just kind of bringing that back. And sometimes I see that kind of angle playing out with other superstars that are currently on the roster. And I'm like, it was just a really great time. And I'd like to finish that chapter.
I love it. I think that's brilliant. You know, I think that would be amazing to see for a lot of fans, because it's like nostalgia. People love that, going back to what they remember and having you and Beth one more time, saying a moment in Royal Rumble or face to face, and just people bringing it up, like, remember that, remember this. Yeah. I think that'd be awesome. But
one of the things that really stuck out to me is that I was watching Naomi after the show at the press conference, and one of the things she was just sharing with people, and what we know as fans on the outside, is there was this time when she left the business, and she just kind of talked about that a little bit and what her journey looks like, and sometimes how she has to shift to find where that next chapter is. And because of all of the things that she learned in her transformation, look at where she is, you know, after the women's evolution. You know, she's making history right now. And so I think of things like that, like, you know, they always say, like, it's about the journey, not the destination. And I used to think, wow, but the journey is really hard. Like, how can you appreciate the journey? And when you get to the destination, like winning the title, that is very short-lived. You know, you win it, and like the next day you're on to the next destination already. And so for me, it's really about the transformation. And that's what I was really able to see in Naomi. It's like, wow, she is transforming to her next greatest self, elevating levels, making history. And so when you go back to a time when I was, you know, in this great feud with Beth Phoenix, it's like we didn't really quite get to finish that transformation, you know? And so I'd like to go back and kind of give that an ending if I ever had the opportunity.
I think it's a great idea, because also when during your feud, women's wrestling, of course, wasn't as showcased with so much positive energy surrounding it, versus now where Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, you know, main evented Evolution pay-per-view. Obviously it's all women, but they still main evented. And then coming up SummerSlam, I'm guaranteeing you that women will main event one of those nights. It's a 2-night event. So there's a lot more positive energy surrounding women's wrestling than when you were involved, because obviously you still had great achievements and great awards, but at the same time, the whole company probably wasn't rooting for you. Some were probably being like, well, why are we giving time to these women? Yeah. It's like, because they're doing a great job and working hard.
Yeah. That, and, you know, it drew attention, you know, and so sometimes when you get just a man that's a great wrestler, it's not always drawing attention, you know, and so you need those fans to come in one way or another. And, you know, there was this, you know, the announcer, there's a female announcer, and she said something, and it kind of really threw me off for a moment. She was like, you know, this women's evolution isn't about bra and panty matches, it's about wrestling. And I was like, there wouldn't be this if we didn't do that. You wouldn't have the job you have if we didn't do that. Like every era, even before me, like Maya Mula, and then the China era before me, and then every era is so different, and it all added up to the evolution and the continuation of that. And I was thinking, have you looked at the girls' gear? They're totally in bra and panties, like garters, fishnet stockings, bras, and some kind of underwear. Like not much has changed. It's just a new age version of it, and the elevation of them getting the respect that they deserve. But it did come from an era before them. So to disrespect that era, I don't think that is makes her look very good, because she just has no common sense kind of on what the evolution looked like.
I agree. Because even Maurice was in the audience with her daughters, and she turned around to make sure everyone saw it. Divas was on the back of her jacket, and her daughters had the same thing. And I think that's a new thing that's happening lately is fans are understanding like, well, maybe you didn't like that then, but you can respect it now. And people, the Divas, like the Butterfly Championship and all that, there's a lot of fans who that is their center. That's where they fell in love with women's wrestling, with you and Tori Wilson and, Maurice and Melina. That's where they fell in love. Mm-hmm. So you're right. The disrespect to bra and panties is like, well, yes, you are right. But is not Rhea Ripley also wrestling in bra and panties? I know she's the most respected woman wrestler there is right now, but like she is wearing that, except she's even more like she's seductive while walking to the ring. She's singing, she's kissing, she's dancing. Like this is not something different than what you were doing dancing, But
totally.
But why is it different now?
I do like what you said about Maurice, because I did notice that, and I love that she put Diva on there because we are so proud of that season that we are in, and Maurice really made headlines and history and like just you name it. She's an absolute star, and some people want to take that away from people, and it's like, first of all, have you ever even been in a ring? I'm thinking like you don't get the opportunity to take away what somebody else has done. And I also love seeing her kids there with the little future champs on it, because I have no doubt that they will be a champ in one way, shape, or form. And seeing like the next generation already, it's like, wow, this is really an incredible, thing that they're putting on.
Agreed. I know active wrestlers now who have children who have come back. And before it seemed like it was like the death sentence to women's wrestlers. Like, oh, you're having a baby? Well, goodbye. We'll never see you again. Yeah. Well, no, because plenty of women, Trish Stratus from Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, so many people have had children and have returned bigger and better than ever. So, I'm so glad we got to sit down and talk about this today, because it's true. Like I have 2 daughters, and when I watch wrestling or bring my oldest, who's 8, my daughter, to wrestling, she's kind of like, oh, men are wrestling. Then in one women's match comes up and she's all in it. Oh, what's going on? Oh, Bianca Belair. Oh, what's going on? This is awesome. So then when I told her I'm watching wrestling Saturday night, and then I was like, oh, well, tomorrow night at 7:00, if you want to watch with me, it's an all women event. She's like, what do you mean? It's just women wrestling.
Amazing.
She's like, Mom, like I have to see this, whatever we're doing. So that to me was an awesome moment as a parent who I'm actually doing something right, showing that women empowerment, and plus I love wrestling and I love the WWE. So having my daughter very interested in seeing the women wrestle to me was a very, this is on track to what we're doing. But Triple H, though, in the press conference did say, someone asked him, is this going to be an annual event? And he was like, well, I'm not sure. We shouldn't have even done this in the first place. And people were a little like, excuse me, sir, read the room. Just say, yes, maybe we will. Just shut up. Be a politician for a minute. What do you think of that? And because even in today's world, no matter how many achievements women have made in professional wrestling or any business, there's still a lack of diversity on all shows, except for NXT. That thing is covered in women's wrestling. But with Raw and SmackDown, what are your thoughts on Evolution becoming an annual event?
Well, just like you said, like there is still a ton of room for growth. I know where we're at now and where we were, that it's a massive improvement for women. But like the last one was like 6-7 years ago, you know, like that's a big gap in really kind of showing like women that they have the same stage and the same platform. So we don't necessarily have that same stage. And these women now are paving the way for what that next decade looks like and how those opportunities can increase. And so many women behind the scenes, you know, I know Mickey James, Gail Kim, like these are two, Molly Holly, like these women like work behind the scenes to try to create products for women and really kind of generate that next level. And so there's a lot of people really involved in it, but it's not an equal playing field. That's one side of it. There's another side of it. You know, sometimes in this day and age, and I am part of this, us women, you know, we want to break so many barriers, but it also can shift us super into our masculine energy. And really, our power comes from our feminine energy. And so having a balance of that for me as a woman and a professional wrestler, former professional wrestler, like, I don't mind it being off balance. I'm not like, oh, we have to have an equal playing field. Women get this amount, men get this amount. I don't think life is based off of an equal playing field. It's similar to sports. I don't believe that every kid gets a trophy. Yes. You know, I believe that, well, if I don't have as much time as I think I deserve for my talent, that means I got to go to work. That means I got to build that up. It's an opportunity for me to become better and to make shifts and changes in this world. And so I just look at it as opportunity, but it's not an equal playing field. I don't know that life is.
That's true. Life is a tough journey. And, you know, you said at the end, sometimes there's an award, sometimes there's not, but keep on working hard behind the scenes and eventually fate will come towards you as you are trending during Evolution while you weren't even in the building.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the love.
You know, if that's not a W, then I don't know what is. But
felt like a W for me. So thank you, everybody.
Of course. And again, and thank you always, Candice, for being here on Tank Out Media, talking and sharing your thoughts about trending and, of course, a wrestling career in general. But we've talked about so much stuff, and it's time for everyone to finish their lunches. Yay! And we'll see you next time, though, right here on Tank Out Media. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.